Samantha here. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little more in-depth about two particular attachment styles. Now, this video is for people who have a little background and context on what attachment styles are, what are the different kinds of attachment styles, and basic information on each of these categories. If you want to know more about attachment styles, I have made a post on my blog with in-depth insights and material, both video and links to articles to help you get yourself more equipped with knowledge around attachment styles and why they're relevant to probably each and every single person, and how knowing about attachment styles can not only help you improve relationships with other people, your friendships and your familial and your romantic relationships, but also strengthen your relationship to yourself and understand what it's like to truly have a say in your subconscious projections to the world around us. Now, having said that, having an anxious attachment is not an identity. It's not something that we label ourselves with. It is just something that is a contributing factor to how we lead our lives, and it's definitely something that you can change. Now, one thing about attachment theory is that you can definitely change your attachment style no matter what it is, whether it's fearful avoidant attachment, dismissive avoidant attachment, anxious attachment, or even secure attachment. These things can change based on the relationships that we are in. For example, a fearful avoidant will be more anxious with a dismissive avoidant and will be more avoidant with an anxiously attached person. Similarly, an anxious person might be more secure with another anxious person, but will be probably even dismissive with a severely anxiously attached person. Or an anxious person will lean more anxious in the spectrum if they're with a severely dismissive or fearful avoidant person. It depends on how a relationship progresses, but we all have our core attachment predispositions based on our childhood and our experiences growing up. So today I'm going to be talking predominantly on how to heal from an anxious and fearful avoidant relationship. Now, points around healing is going to be centric for anxiously attached people. However, I will be providing insights on fearful avoidant attachment as well. So without further ado, let's get right into it. After years and years of terrible relationships, people who do not meet your needs, people who do not even bother to understand you, people who do not even understand the gravity of what it means to be in a loving partnership, you finally meet someone who is everything that you've been dreaming of and more. You finally meet the right person. It feels so movie-like, it feels beautiful, and you think, this is it, I've made it, this is what love is, this is what love should feel like. And then there's attachment theory that comes into the picture. There is the little teeny weeny problem of our childhood trauma, our inner children creating a ruckus because we found a safe space finally so that we can come out and play. There's a lot that goes on. Relationships are fundamentally playgrounds for inner healing. What I mean by this is, nobody can trigger you as much as relationships trigger you and show you where healing needs to be done, because that level of emotional intimacy and that level of interpersonal connection, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, with somebody, shows you where your shadows are active and what causes your shadows to activate, what causes your demons to wake up and make noise. And I'm saying this in a very metaphysical way, but it's true. It's not something that's just philosophical. Only someone that we're truly deeply involved with sometimes can act as a mirror for us. They act as a mirror for everything that we are. So that's why it's really hard. And fundamentally, the process of uncovering these things is overwhelming for insecure attachment styles, because there's so much trauma that they're carrying. When all of this comes to the surface, there could be hostile reactions, there could be volatile emotional turbulence, there could be so much that goes on that we don't know what's going on exactly. All of our trauma is on the surface now, and it just takes us by surprise, and we don't know how to regulate it, deal with it, and there's so much ignorance and unknown factors about and around, what happens to us when our traumas get activated. Fearful avoidant attachment basically is very severely uncomfortable with facing their own trauma, facing their shadow selves. They thrive in isolation, feel regulated, feel secure when they don't have any influence triggering their trauma, solely because they're in the part of themselves that does not have to confront themselves or their shadows. They're in the part of themselves that they constructed to regulate their emotions and stay safe, stay in the safe zone, not venture out into where they could come face to face with parts of them that they've either suppressed or they don't realize or they don't want to associate with. It can be really, really, really hard for avoidantly attached people to even begin to fathom and understand and inculcate the fact that, okay, there's something wrong here. And even if they do, it takes a lot of emotional strength or resilience, or I won't even say strength. It takes a lot of willingness to confront those things instead of running away from them and suppressing them or being in environments where they don't need to face them. And that's why relationships are so hard for fearful avoidant people, and sabotaging relationships is their specialty, solely because relationships expose parts of them that they need to work on, and they are unable to work on that because they don't have the emotional bandwidth. And it often seems very overwhelming to deal with so much, and to even come to terms with the fact that, oh my god, there are these many things that I need to like set right. And they'd rather be in an environment where, working on it is not required, and just pushing it away is easier, and pushing it away does not give them a lot of pain. Being in a relationship, it's funny because it's like they crave that. When they have it, they're afraid of it. It's a pickle because when intimacy does come around, they either sabotage it. Fearful avoidants have this rep of gathering proof in relationships as to why they're not safe, and being hyper vigilant about it, because their primary source of love and safety was also a source of fear and unsafety for them. So automatically, like embodiments of their attachment and love, eventually they themselves convert to a space to be feared. And what doesn't help is when anxiously attached people react to this projection. They react to the fearful avoidant pulling away, they react to the fearful avoidant expressing doubt. And often what happens, the fearful avoidant is hyper vigilant. They will pick up on cues and things like, for example, this is so funny, an anxiously attached person might be like, okay, I'm feeling little insecure in the relationship because my partner is kind of pulled away right now. I want to see if they have feelings for me, if they like me, if they like will pursue me and keep me. I want to see what happens when I make them jealous. And this is not a conscious sort of plotting or plan. This is just like, you know what, I feel like I need to see that my partner wants me. I need to see that my partner loves me. What anxiously attached people do is they do things that are considered manipulative, but this is very unconscious. Just like how it's a terrible thing to gather someone's flaws. That's what fearful avoidants do. They gather someone's flaws to build their case as to why they're not safe and why the person's not right for them, and then they convince themselves their emotions, and they're really, really good at shutting their emotions down. They're really good at shutting down the romantic aspect of a relationship and then just keeping the friendship aspect alive so that emotional connection is still there, but they don't have to feel the fear of being in a committed partnership that could go wrong, that could result in them being betrayed, left, abandoned, rejected. Because one thing about fearful avoidant attachment is they have both the core wounds of the anxiously attached, which is fear of abandonment, fear of not being good enough, low self-esteem, and things like that, as well as the need for autonomy, fearing enmeshment, need for independence, and need to be away from close connections, which is the avoidant core wound, feeling like they won't have space to breathe. Anxiously attached people have a negative self-view and a positive other view. By this I mean they don't feel safe with themselves, and they don't feel like they can bank on themselves. They have low self-worth, but they have a high opinion of other people. And by other people I mean the partner. They keep the partner on the pedestal. Anxiously attached people are basically looking for a parental figure, and this is something that they need to confront, they need to see, they need to realize. When a partner feels very parental to them, giving them parental type care, probably care that they were missing as a child, or care that was taken away from them due to unforeseen circumstances, or unnatural or unfortunate circumstances, they're looking for a parent, and often they become very childlike and very like, oh my god, take care of me. They are not equipped with the right tools to regulate emotions. They always lack the ability to soothe themselves, and they always look out for other people to help them. They cry for help. And that is something to really recognize as the anxiously attached person. There is not enough safety within yourself. There is the self-connection and the ability to bank on yourself and be like, hey, you know what, I got you. It comes and goes. It's there, sometimes it's not there. Even on the spectrum, right, there's like 100% anxiously attached. There's like on the spectrum, secure leaning anxious, anxious leaning secure. These are terms as well that could shift based on where you are at on your healing journey. So what happens is anxiously attached people have a negative self view, positive other view, and dismissive avoidants have a positive self view and a negative other view. Dismissive avoidants are more, I don't want to deal with other people. I just need my independence. I don't want to be attached to anybody. It's just me, myself, and I. That's the idea. Whereas fearful avoidant people having the core wounds of both of these attachment styles have a negative self view and have a negative view of the other person. And what they do is they really, really like sabotage connections, relationships, the beautiful aspects of life very subtly, and even they don't realize it because they register the reactions to their subtle behavior as red flags and problematic behavior, and they shut down and they like go into deactivation. There's activation, deactivation. These are all things that you will learn from the link in my description. But yeah, their feelings are either activated, which means the anxious side is more here and awake, or their feelings are deactivated, which means the avoidance side is here and awake. Anxious attachment people need to deal and heal their relationship to themselves. Avoidantly attached people need to heal the relationship to other people and let people in and allow for intimacy, and rewire their mental concepts around intimacy and building an intimate partnership or having intimacy in general. Whereas fearful avoidants need to fix their relationship to themselves and their relationship to other people, because they are in this war zone between intimacy and independence, and it's just something that constantly keeps them on edge, that contributes to commitment issues, contributes to feelings of I used to feel something here but I don't anymore, feelings being shut down subconsciously because they cannot handle the pressure and the fear and the guilt that comes with their uncertainty within a relationship. Because just like how being alone triggers, or like being abandoned, being left triggers all of an anxiously attached person's core wounds, similarly being in a relationship triggers all of a fearful avoidance core wounds and fears and everything negative, feelings of not being good enough, feelings of definitely I'm going to be someday abandoned. They genuinely believe that their partner will abandon them someday or betray them someday because they have a hard time trusting. There are huge trust wounds and little inconsistencies, little things like the anxious person trying to make the avoidant person, fearful avoidant person jealous, can set them off. If they get a reaction, if anxiously people get a reaction that's kind of jealous from fearful avoidant people, they feel safe and validated weirdly, which is a toxic trait that has to be rewired, because jealousy is not something you deploy. Yes, there are secure couples that are okay with a little bit of healthy jealousy here and there. It just shows possessiveness and how much you love them, but that's what the anxious attached person is seeking. They're basically trying to see if their partner really loves them and really wants them. But something like this happening quite a few times, like 2 or 3 times, just the anxious person being like, oh, that person's cute, or oh, someone hit on me today, that can add to the pile of reasons as to why the fearful avoidant needs to leave you. And that will pile up someday. And believe it or not, this sucks. This is such a bad truth. And this is such a painful truth. But the fearful avoidant is gathering intel, is trying to build their case as to why this isn't the right place for them. You're not the right fit for them. And the reason is, now this is where you have to tell yourself that this is not against you or because you're the wrong person, or you've made mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. I'm going to come to what mistakes an anxiously attached person does or makes. But fearful avoidance will gather mistakes, whether you're securely attached, whether you're dismissively avoidant, whether you're anxiously attached. They will, because of their hypervigilance, keep track of every tiny inconsistency, every tiny thing you say that hurts them, every tiny thing that you feel, and will make a list of things as to why you're not the right person for them, solely because being in a relationship is not a comfort zone for the fearful avoidant. Being alone is a comfort zone because none of their triggers are being triggered. At the same time, being alone for too long can also trigger their anxious side and their longing for love and connection and intimacy. But when they do get that, they know how to relish in that for a while, but then they begin pushing it away and sabotaging it. So they're always in this push and pull dynamic with their desires of isolating, being alone, not trusting people, pushing people away, and then letting people in for a while and letting them into their lives, and then feeling like, okay, now I'm going to be betrayed. I let this person in, now they're going to take advantage of me. And it's very hard because the anxious person needs to really walk on eggshells, but they have their own traumas and they really have their own issues that they sort of deal with in ways that are not really conducive to making a fearful avoidant feel more secure. And this leads to a snowballing effect where the fearful avoidant eventually feels like they will never be safe in this connection. But that's the conclusion they tend to come to in pretty much all relationships, even if the person was secure. So, because if the person's secure, they'll be like, I just don't feel a spark here, because that's another thing that you read. There's so many paradoxes, because subconsciously both the anxious and the fearful avoidant crave chaos, and they create chaos because chaos is where they found that they were the most safe in a way with themselves. In a way, they knew how to exist in chaos. They've had practice existing in chaos, so they recreate that chaos because that's what love feels like to them. Love was a source of everything good and everything bad and chaos at the same time, so they subconsciously let chaos happen. There's even some articles about how fearful avoidance, sometimes because of guilt, they will stay and they will try to just be there and do the bare minimum despite them being checked out, and then allow the relationship to like snowball and let the partner do something horrible so that they don't feel guilt for walking away prematurely or walking away when they could have fixed things. Because usually that's another thing, 90% of issues can be fixed with therapy, with proper communication. But one thing fearful avoidance do is that they jump to conclusions before even coming to terms with what is causing everything and even having a conversation. So usually they will build up their case and they'll make their opinions, and it'll be something that's not at all a reflection of what their partner was feeling and the thought process behind their words or actions. So they have a very like bad habit of giving up prematurely before having the necessary conversations, because the necessary conversations require them to confront negative emotions that they're feeling and patterns of unworthiness that they're feeling, and require them to be uncomfortably vulnerable, not just vulnerable in ways that are acceptable to them in the notion they have about heady-giddy relationships or right relationships, but vulnerability truly that is connected to them facing their shadow selves. So a lot of a fearful avoidance behavior and thought process is around self-preservation. So they will sort of allow things to be there and let things snowball until the partner actually makes a grave mistake, and then they're like, okay, now I don't have to feel guilty for like jumping out of this bandwagon. So it's disheartening to read about these things and to understand these things, because you're like, oh wow, so like I thought this person really did like accept me for who I was and like really love my flaws, and chances are they probably did. The part of them that was able to feel love when they're activated, was able to feel a connection beyond their attachment style, probably did like really see parts of you. Because one thing is that you can't discount the abilities that they have to make someone feel loved and seen. It's not just a way for them to get approval, or I would like to think so, that they genuinely do have another person's best interests at heart, and they're not just doing this so that they can give themselves a golden star. But it is disheartening to learn that they do in fact clandestinely, quietly build up their case against you and pick up all your flaws, pick up on that, add it to their itinerary, and just be like, okay, this is why this is not going to work. And once they are convinced and they're like, okay, my boundaries have been crossed, and they're like, okay, there's no going back after this, even if it wasn't something like, even if it was something that was very fixable with just conversation and just opening their hearts up and opening their vulnerabilities and telling you what's bothering them, giving you the benefit of the doubt, confronting you and having a conversation about it, even if that is something that they can do, they will not. And they just usually jump to a conclusion, and they'll tell you and themselves that they did try to have conversation, but often these conversations would not be vulnerable, authentic conversations. These will be conversations where they'll ask you questions and then suss you out and see how you respond. Usually when the anxiously attached person feels threatened or triggered, they act out in ways that they are shamed by. So when they are questioned about this, they try to cover it up, mask it up, and they're like, okay, no, but that was not me, but like I don't know what happened, I don't know what came over me. But then what's like getting translated is that, oh, she didn't say that this wouldn't happen again, or like then I can't trust her. There's no communication around like, okay, what did you feel, what happened, can we talk about it, can we like see how to not let this happen again, what can I do, what can you do? And there's no actual threat to the relationship, but then these two individuals will bring it into the relationship, and then there's a big threat. And the fearful avoidant is always unwilling to look beyond it. And the fearful avoidant is always unwilling to look at or look for a solution. They're always problem oriented. That's their brains protecting them from potential problems in the future and anxiety around those problems coming up and being stuck in unhappy, unsafe situations. But the thing is, they create unhappy and unsafe situations themselves. Or at least feed it more. They feed the fire more, and then when the other person reacts to that fire, it becomes very difficult to contain that fire by either party. So, what the anxiously attached person should realize is being in this dynamic of push and pull, where the partner always makes you second guess if you are a good person or not, if you are safe or not. And it's really hard because the fearful avoidant will genuinely try to make you, and this they do subconsciously, they will genuinely convince you that there's something wrong with the relationship, with you, with the both of you as a unit, that there's irreversible damage, that things cannot be fixed. And this will happen with fearful avoidance even when the partner is not that anxiously attached. Even if the partner did everything right, they will find some or the other flaw. I could go on and on about this, but I'm deviating from what this video is about. It is about what to do as the anxiously attached person when you're dealing with this push and pull behavior. One thing is to forgive yourself, solely because being in this dynamic can keep you in a consistent state of hyperactivation or anxiety. And that anxiety can only get worse because the ways in which you seek reassurance push the fearful avoidant further away. And that is not on you, that's not your fault. Sometimes all you would need is for them to come through, show up, and just hold you when you have been feeling anxious the entire day and you're not able to regulate that, and you've not learned how to regulate that. So you erupt and you're like, oh, I need this, I need that, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. For them, that is an attack. That is like, I am being criticized and you're hitting all my insecure points right now. You don't make me feel good about myself, and they just go further away, which is sad because, like, when that happens, you are in a state of even more heightened anxiety, and it just hits a peak and you say things you don't mean. As an anxiously attached person, you have probably researched and done your homework and figured out ways and reasons behind why you're feeling the way you are feeling. You probably uncovered what attachment styles meant first, because you are so desperate to fix the relationship and fix yourself and not feel this way, because you feel judged, you feel put down, you feel misunderstood, you feel unwanted, you feel rejected, and you feel all of these things, and these things are just piling up and piling up, and you just want to feel rest. Thing is, you need to forgive yourself for acting out because you were in a consistent state of heightened anxiety and stress, and that takes a toll. That takes a toll on your mental health, that takes a toll on your amygdala, that takes a toll on your levels of cortisol, which all impair your decision making and your conscious reality. And another thing that happens is when these subconscious wounds are triggered, we act more from a place of subconscious pain than conscious awareness. Even if we're aware consciously that the right thing to do would be to cool down, calm down, maybe take a shower and not react, our subconscious is already triggered because everything stored in our subconscious, our pain that is stored in our subconscious, is activated, and that is coming out in ways, and it's looking to be soothed, but it's, you don't know how to yet. And I want to plug in here the work that the Personal Development School is doing. Thais Gibson is a psychologist who has done immense, beautiful work and given us so much material to heal your attachment style, understand yourself better, rewire your subconscious mind and your subconscious trauma patterns, because our subconscious always has the say in how we behave and act over our conscious sometimes, especially when we're dealing with, like, deep-rooted emotions. So I recommend, it is a little pricey per monthly, but like, I recommend doing her courses. People who are avoidantly attached or fearful avoidantly attached, I know it is easier to be in your safe zone and not confront these parts of yourself and just suppress them all over again. Tell yourself that, you know what, I'm fine, I'm secure. It was the other person that was the problem, because believe me, that is what y'all do. And this is not to call you out. This is not to be like, okay, listen, this is suspicious behavior, let's not, because you're not doing this consciously. It's easier to feel like you have a sense of autonomy and like a sense of self without having to confront these parts of yourself that you never associated with yourself in the first place, and now suddenly you have all this information. I know the anxious attachment part of a fearful avoidant might be geared towards self-improvement, because anxiously attached people will deal with all their emotions. They're more in tune with, like, their pain. They'll feel everything right away, so they're okay with exposing themselves to parts of themselves that are like in need of serious improvement. But fearful avoidant attached people or avoidantly attached people will shy away from the concept of actively researching what's up with them and getting help properly, and just continue to live their lives in repeat patterns. So I emphasize on the need to really, really focus on rewiring your attachment style and addressing your core wounds. And the personal development school has such beautiful material to help you. There is this false notion going around, especially when you read the book Attached, that fearful avoidant attachment cannot be fixed or changed, that it takes a lot of work. Yes, it takes a lot of work, but it can be fixed and changed. There are people who have earned a secure attachment from an FA attachment, and Thais Gibson and the personal development school really make it easy for you to be on a healing journey, healing your attachment style. So please do not be disheartened by the book Attached, because it is a little bit outdated, I would say. It's not really it doesn't really do justice to how possible it is for fearful avoidant attachment to heal. It often paints avoidance in this very non-redeemable light, which is not true. There have been a lot of people who have healed their fearful avoidant attachment. It has taken years, but it is very much doable. So do check it out. I will link their website in the description below. Another thing is, especially about having feelings of low self-worth, it can be really challenging to wrap your head around the concept that fearful avoidance literally, if you've been in an association with the fearful avoidant, that is literally stacked up everything wrong with you and flaws about you to help them feel more rooted in their decision to leave, when in reality their decision to leave was rooted in their fears coming up so much to the surface that they didn't feel comfortable in their bodies, they didn't feel comfortable in the dynamic of a relationship. So please know that yes, you may have flaws that they have perceived, and that might be true, but always know that every human being has flaws, and you also have some things that are really beautiful about you. So make sure that you list and remember those things. List those things about yourself. Make sure that you are celebrating those things that are worth loving, valuing in you, and you're working on your flaws. And some flaws that do not need changing, that's okay. Like, for example, if you are someone who, I don't know, eats pineapple with pizza and that's considered a flaw and you like it, you don't have to change that. But if you are someone who is very volatile when your feelings are hurt, or where you don't know how to contain them and there's so much going on, oh my god, yes, let there be light. Yeah, and first of all, forgive yourself, because being in this dynamic itself can bring up a lot of old wounds and traumas to the surface, which is now a good thing, because now that they are on the surface, you can wash them away with work and intention and dedication, and actually put in the work too, because they've all been brought to your attention now, and there's no other way for them to go, unless you're going to suppress them all over again, than to be changed and that metamorphosis happen. So in a way, it's okay. You always live and learn, right? You always learn from people who break your heart, or you always learn something or the other. You gain a little bit more of yourself. If you lose more of yourself, that means you're doing something wrong. So you always gain more from any relationship. And that's the thing, right? Avoidance have such a warped idea and a negative association to relationships. And this is really a core wound that they should change, and they should change their view of intimacy and being connected. And it can be hard too when they themselves sabotage things, and they themselves feed the fire of things blowing up in a relationship that reconfirms their fears and their subconscious patterning. But it's important to realize that a lot of this we're doing ourselves. A lot of the pain that we feel from relationships as avoidance are pains that we manifested in relationships ourselves. So yes, that pain can be added to and amplified by your partner, especially if they're also insecurely attached. But you need to put in the work to change your relationship to other people and relationships, as well as change your relationship to yourself. So yeah, anxiously attached people, please have a lot of compassion for yourself, because you need to fix your relationship to yourself, so that these perceived notions and devaluation of you, or perceived inadequacies in you, don't phase you. Yeah, they're there, but love always is bigger than your flaws, and if that doesn't come through, then maybe that person isn't worthy of having your non-flaws, or having your parts of you. And this is not to say that exes who are fearful avoidance don't deserve you, or partners who are fearful avoidance don't deserve to see your worth. No, it's just, listen, you cannot measure yourself by anyone else's perception, because their perception is tainted with their own experience of themselves, their fears, their limitations. So always take your word for it above anybody else's, even if it's someone that you really loved and loved you, and someone you once felt really seen by, and once felt like you had a synergy going and you understood them, they understood you. Always know that you have flaws, but they're not to be counted more than what's beautiful about you, and they're not to be, everything that's beautiful about you is what is worth holding on to. despite all your flaws. And that should be the case with love and relationships anywhere. You fight for what is worth fighting for. You don't, diminish what's worth fighting for over things that are trivial inadequacies that can be actually even taken away from the equation with proper communication and healthy dynamics and understanding. So that is something you can start with yourself. You should know that, hey, one, don't regret the love you gave anybody, and don't devalue the love you felt from anybody at any point in a certain time. Always root your sense of self and worth in those moments rather than moments where things were not okay. Always give your subconscious the ammo it requires to feel healed, loved, and celebrated. And these are things that you will learn with the personal development school. This is not even an ad. I'm just really grateful that they exist, and yeah, I'm just really grateful that there's a way to heal these things and not just information that with no where to go with that information. There's constructive action you can take to change that. So anxiously attached people, my heart goes out to you. Forgive yourselves, and even if they're blaming you for it, it's okay. You need to realize that you have the knowledge now. This video and the links that you see in the description will give you actual insight into why you face certain behaviors from certain partners or people. I know I focus on fearful avoidance. If you have had dismissive avoidance in your life, they really resemble narcissistic traits. So it's very important to equip yourself with knowledge to understand where people come from, where the fear of intimacy comes from, where the fear of enmeshment comes from. So yeah, just know that it's all psychology. It's all textbook psychology. Trust me, everything that plays out is textbook psychology. Don't take people not wanting to make it work personally solely because working on such a heavy thing is very daunting. It's a scary thing. It's something to be scared of. And in addition to that, shutdowns are real, deactivations are real, and prolonged states of deactivation, repeated states of deactivation will definitely make you question, your relationship or your love for somebody, which is, in the psychological realm, it's valid. It makes sense. It hurts, but it makes sense. But always know that spiritually deep down, no love is false love. Love shared is never something that can go away, and these dynamics have nothing on genuine love that you can feel from somebody and feel for somebody. So just focus on that. Focus on the love, and don't take it personally. And I can't say don't take it personally because relationships are so personal, but do not take it as a sign or a confirmation of your deepest negative beliefs about yourself. Don't. It's very psychological. It's beyond a reflection of you. It's not a reflection of you or who you are. It's not a reflection of love. It's a reflection of trauma, lost feelings, suddenly pulling away, not wanting to be in a situationship or relationship, or deeming you unworthy of a partnership. These are all psychological wounds in the other person. These are all trauma responses for especially a fearful avoidant. Loving you so much and then suddenly not wanting anything to do with you. These are not things that are healthy. These are things that need to be healed. So always look at it from a lens of compassion. And when you do that, when you take space, honestly, if you are struggling to take space, just know that basically you're probably in that trap of letting things snowball from the other person until you crack and you make a mistake that cannot be rectified. So you're probably in that trap if you're consistently being triggered. Signs when you know to take space is when you're constantly anxious, when you constantly feel unsafe, when you're constantly being triggered. It's not good for your mental health. And I know taking space is hard, but if you're consistently being triggered, please take a step back and focus on your mental health. It'll do you wonders and really make you realize that, oh my god, I'm not crazy. I just had to focus on myself for a bit, and it'll really calm down the consistent anxiety. And at the risk of agreeing with the FA who says we'll be better off separate and alone, that's not always the case. Yeah, you cannot force someone to work on something, but often the work you do when you take space gives the same result as the work you do when both parties agree to work on something and constructively take action to work on something and build safety together, build that trust together. But if one person's not in that, is not willing to put in the work, then space is better, because at least you can work on it without being constantly triggered by the other person's unwillingness to put in the work. So having said that, I hope this was helpful. Please forgive yourself. Please know that it's human, and all of these things are not a measure of you being a horrible partner or an unlovable person. Everything that an FA will deem like non negotiable or something that they cannot put up with in the anxiously attached person can be healed, can be taken away from their personality altogether with healing and with love and with the proper guidance and proper effort. So everything that you deem unworthy in yourself or unworthy in other people, or everything that you deem as unwanted, basically everything is unwireable, rewirable, fixable, changeable. And if you didn't believe that before, please believe that now. And focus on yourselves, love yourselves, have compassion for yourselves and for other people with a different attachment style. Know that you are worthy of love. Everyone is worthy of love, affection, acceptance, and embracement, if that's a word, being embraced and being celebrated despite their attachment style, despite their flaws, despite everything to be guilty for or ashamed of. Those things are not, we're not here to hold on to those things and to like judge a person based on those things. No, we are, love is beyond that. We are beyond that. We see people for who they are and celebrate them, and I celebrate everyone that I love and know. So make sure you celebrate people, celebrate yourself, and never lose that willingness to celebrate. I'm not saying put on your rose tinted glasses, but don't put on the glasses that devalues people, basically. Celebrate people. That's it for today's video. Check out the description below. Please subscribe, comment down below if this resonated with you, hit the like button, etc., etc. Hit the post notification so we can stay connected. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.